are tomorrow's history. What you know and believe about your world, what you care about, and how you lived will be recorded for future generations. Becker County is rooted together in a rich history and anchored by the values of hard work, community pride, and philanthropy. Over the years, the people within the county have stepped forward to help provide opportunities to strengthen the future of the community. Schools, churches, and hospitals have been built. Investments in libraries, community centers, and recreational outlets have created opportunities for improved health in mind and body. Now, we have an opportunity to safeguard and secure our community's story that began in 1858. It includes the possessions, inventions, artifacts, and records documenting the values and progress since our county was formed. History is important because people are important. How we got to where we are today is important.
The Pioneer Settlers Union was formed in 1882, and this was a group of people who originally started as a social club, and over time they started to gather history. They realized that we're the first people here, and it's important for us to remember how things started and where things were. So they gathered things like bone spoons and bread bowls that came with people from Europe, and spinning wheels, Native American artifacts like beadwork and tools and weapons, arrowheads, etc. And they gathered those things and had no place to really keep them, so they started keeping them at people's homes to begin with. They then started to interview settlers and started to gather their stories into a book that later became published called The Pioneer History of Becker County in 1907. And they realized that, again, history was happening around them and as they were living. And I think without them, we wouldn't have the amazing collection that we have here, but also the amazing stories that we have here. They were the very beginnings and literally the foundation of our institution. In 1924, then, many of these settlers were passing away, and they wanted to make sure that that history element maintained, and so they formed the Becker County Historical Society in 1924, and at that point began really looking towards the idea of having a museum here in Becker County.
They would meet a lot of times in different people's houses, different members' houses. But they did have a spot in the basement of the library. And then right off the little room was a little broom closet. I suppose it was 3 by 3 by 3, I don't know. It wasn't very high. And that's where they kept what they owned, what the Historical Society owned. And so in 1943, the Historical Society started, they started moving into the facilities there at the courthouse. And the museum was about, I'm kind of guessing at it's about 40 feet by 60 feet in dimension, in area. We got a chance to move in here in the late 80s. And of course, we had a lot more room here than we had down there.
The museum is tired and worn, with many health, safety, and physical deficiencies. The nearly 70-year-old building houses multiple displays on the upper level and storage on the lower level, requiring the space to be off-limits to the public. The facility has limited handicap access from floor to floor via a small elevator that works sometimes. The lower-level doors do not allow for accessibility. There are no handicap-accessible public restrooms. Electrical, plumbing, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems are dated and not energy efficient. Priceless artifacts and documents are at risk for mold, mildew, and possible fire due to lack of proper air circulation and a sprinkler system. The building has little historic merit, and because it would not be considered for National Historic Register status, the most cost-effective long-term option is to build a new facility. Everyone has the opportunity to look deeper to determine history's impact on their lives today.
We are business owners in Detroit Lakes, and my husband and I are really passionate about keeping the heart and soul of downtown alive. We purchased a few buildings downtown, and our intention was to make some changes but keep the integrity and the character and the history and use that with our new businesses, but just to keep that history of Detroit Lakes alive.
We decided to work with these buildings downtown because of the way they were built. You cannot build them like that anymore. It's not cost effective. Nowadays it's all steel studs and stucco, and you lose that craftsmanship that was built so many years ago.
The $3.2 million capital campaign will provide funding for a new building that is 16,810 square feet. It would have 2 stories with a main level exhibit space and administrative area and a lower level collection storage space. Additional amenities will include a handicap accessible elevator, fully accessible restrooms, new building security, and a state-of-the-art mechanical system to preserve the museum collections. Next to the exhibit area will be a large meeting and classroom space for 40 people, which will be available for presentations, seminars, and meetings. The new design allows for easy access to the building from a new parking lot and brings visitors directly into a lobby with the reception and office space readily visible. Now, we turn to individuals, government, civic and service groups, and business leaders in our county to invite support for an effort that will have a lasting impact on future generations.
Having a museum in the area, it allows you to go and get out of the book where they just read it and see pictures and actually physically take and have an artifact in their hand and see, and from the time period and physically see it and go out, and it's like, this came from 1914, and it engages the students more, and it makes them more interested in their topic. With Teaching History Day, I have witnessed and been in the cities where all the city schools, the Minneapolis schools, have access to all the museums down there. Keeping our local museums running and functioning is very vital to teaching the youth of what we have today, in order for them to go and get these primary sources and having access to materials that they normally wouldn't have access to, or they have to travel 1,000 miles to find. It's very valuable that way.
As we prepare to hand over the responsibilities of preservation to future generations, what is the impact and benefit of the new facility in real terms? Imagine a well-ventilated, well-lit, and spacious environment, allowing all visitors access to exhibits and research at their own pace. New programming to engage and educate students from all over Becker County. With upgrades and new technology, our capabilities will increase to engage and encourage youth to utilize their current social media and devices to meet the past as the ultimate time machine experience. Interaction through museum events will showcase the importance of the past, present, and future, making these events a source of pride for its citizens, the White Earth Nation, city and county leaders, business, and institutions. Staff and volunteers who are knowledgeable about their city and county and the technologies we offer make them valuable resources for city and townships whose records are stored at the museum and must be preserved.
History is important to local government because we need to know what uses were the land was being used for in the past. So like when we do infrastructure projects, we aren't running into old foundations or things that are currently being used that are underground that may have been here 70, 80 years ago.
History comes alive when you see an artifact that Grandpa used to have in his barn, or a photo of a relative you never knew you had, or even learning to appreciate what we have today by seeing what our ancestors used to get a job done. The Becker County Museum holds these treasures that we can unlock just by walking in the door.
The museum is a blessing to all because it keeps the history. As long as history's been recorded in this area, and it shows the connection that we have with events, it shows the connection we have with other people, and it shows the connection that we have as a family as a whole. We all have nuclear families for the most part, but the museum keeps the records and the history for all of us in every township, and that gives us belonging. It gives us a place where we can go and see that as people we have an identity in this region, and it's an important thing, because without it all of a sudden in the puzzle of life, there's a piece missing.
Today, we have the opportunity to move forward by generating funds to leave a visible and tangible legacy for our young people, our community, our future.
As historians, our primary purpose is to be a good steward of our shared history and your history. And to do that, we need a space that will support it. We have to take care of those fragile artifacts like the spoon, like the beadwork, that need environmental control, that need space that they can exist for the next 100 years, because we are here to kind of pass the torch to the next generation of people. And this building will allow us to do that, and I hope that you will support it.
We invite you to make a financial contribution. Together, with your generous support, we can and will build the new home for the Becker County Historical Society and Museum.